Stacy.
Hello.
Yeah.
Well, the public's here.
Hello.
Hello.
And I'm going to share our agenda tonight. Can everybody see that okay?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, the first item on the agenda is to approve the workshop minutes from December 16th and December 18th. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay, Emily and Jen. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Abstentions? Motion passes. Great, so our main conversation today is just to talk about the CNRE and the Board of Ed submission. So I'm going to open up the CNRE fund. I'll kind of start it off and then I think I'm going to hand it over to Peter and I'll chime in if needed. You all know Peter Anderson, correct? You're a regular now, Peter. Oh, hang on. I have a couple of other participants. Oh, I have Dr. Cook is also here, so I will promote him as well.
I don't know, Peter. Are you new into the role? Did you replace the person who just retired recently? I forget his name.
Yes, I've replaced Bill McMinn. I've been actually in the school system now exactly 1 year. Or into the town system.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. So that means maybe in the new Neck Road Elementary School in the atrium, we had talked about NACA keeping a trade. He thought he might chop it down, but now that he's gone, maybe we can keep it.
Oh, actually, they're having a meeting on and this is in the what you're referring to as the courtyard area. I think there's actually three trees in there. We kept the trees, but we got rid of almost 400 other plantings. So there was actually 500 or 600 different types of plantings in that area. We kept all three trees, and then we cut it down to 250 what are considered really hardy plants, because it becomes really troublesome to try to maintain that being in the center of the school and not having any outside access to it. But that is all still there.
Cool.
Alrighty, so I have the CNRE, the last page of the CNRE document I'm sharing right now. It's page 27 in your book. In the row that we're going to focus on today is this in here, which is the 10-year plan for the Board of Ed. This was the original submission when we first developed the first document that came forward to the committee from the Board of Selectmen. When the first select woman in the Board of Selectmen reviewed the program, they decided that actually the numbers didn't work. That fund was actually in a deficit, so they had to go through and look at projects and identify potential changes in order to make the fund work based on the funding that we have available for the CNRE. And what they decided was to ask the Board of Education to go back and look at this 10-year plan and to see if they can find any savings within their projects in order to balance, number one, to balance the plan, and number two, to be able to include the Daniel Hand roof in year 5, which came forward last year. So their thought was, if we do need to do this roof and if it is important and we have to do it, maybe we can find the funds somewhere else and kind of do a trade-off on what is really, necessary in order to prioritize the needs. So based on that, sorry, asked to see if they can find any savings in order to help support the Daniel Hand roof as well as the program as a whole. So the Board of Ed went back to the drawing board and came up with a plan, which I'm going to stop sharing now, and I will show you what they decided to do that was actually voted on by the Board of Ed, I believe on November 26th. So can everyone see this Excel sheet? Okay, great. So this number up here, that was the price of the roof. That's what was on the bottom that the Board of Selectmen had asked the Board of Ed to find. We went through and on the Board of Ed side, we went through and found 3 different ways to help support the roof and help support the plan. So this is basically what the Board of Ed approved on November 26th. And I don't know, Peter, if you want to take it from here, or do you want me to walk through a little bit more? I know Dr. Cook is also here.
That's what I'm saying. I'll, do you want to keep going? That's fine. I mean, I can
Okay.
take over whatever you want to do.
Okay, and Emily, Galen, Craig, please chime in. What we did first was, since this roof is still included in year 5, we're hoping that we will get a 28% reimbursement from the State Department of Education. That is a thing out there. We will be applying. We will try to get any grant or reimbursement out there. So the first step we took was to offset the cost of the roof in year 5 with a state grant of 28%. And that is a percent that we're also getting reimbursed on the new Neck River. So this would also qualify. So that was our first step on the Board of Ed side to reduce the roof by that $1,028,000. In addition to that, I'm going to skip this middle part and go down to these items. This total of $326,000. Those items are actually a reduction in prior projects that were approved for the Board of Education. So when asked, when the administration was asked on the Board of Ed side to make a reduction, the facilities department and the facilities committee, finance voted on this, went through all of the existing projects and said, what can we give back in these balances to help support the plan as a whole? So they came up with these 3 projects, and Peter can expand more on why they're now returning these balances to support the plan and having the roof project in the 5-year plan. So before we go into those, I'll just hop back up to this middle section. And basically what this is they took the 10-year plan that is in the book on page, it starts on page 47, that was submitted to you, the original plan, and went through the 5 years and said, what can we move around? What can we massage? What can we hold off if the roof is really a priority? And these were the projects that we were willing to either push off, hold off, or remove totally. So in essence, we're short a little bit on the Board of Ed side, but we did find a lot in order to help the plan, in order to support the roof. And again, this was what was voted by the Board of Ed. So Peter, I'm going to let you take over. I don't know, you can either start, with the projects that you removed or the balances that you returned, unless somebody else has a question before Peter chimes in.
Questions? Okay, so let's go. We'll go start down by the Daniel Hand stage lighting and track resurfacing and the Brown FF&E. The 2 projects, one $2,085 and the other one $224,548. Those were projects that were money left over in a area that was already completed, and there was no anticipation of using those. That money was being held in. The projects had been closed out and completed, and that's where that lion's share of money has been returned back to the CNRE. The Brown FF&E reduction is an already approved amount of $800,000, which we know we were able to safely reduce it by $100,000. and give that back to the CNRA as well. So what you would, if you were to look at my, I have a different SIP sheet, it would say 800, but it's really 700 because we gave back $100,000. Are there any questions on those three items there before we move up to projects that have either been moved to year 6 or reduced? Okay, so
Katie- Katie has a
yes.
question.
Sorry. I just have a question about the FF&E, and this is more of a programmatic, I guess, discussion. So, especially concerning Brown. I know when developing the changes in the schools way back when I was a part of the Board of Education, parity was a huge part of making sure that the kids up north also felt like they were getting a new school to the, you know, actual brand new school down south on Green or the Neck River School. Sorry. And so my question is basically, we are reducing now FF&E at Brown. Is it likely that Brown, you've done an amazing job, Board of Ed, Dr. Cook, and Peter, at the upgrades to Brown School, but will they still have some benefit of new furniture and things like that? Will some of the old furniture and buildings that were closing be mixed between both buildings so that there's some parity?
Yeah, I'll go ahead,
that.
Dr. Cook. You do that, and I've got some additional stuff. We did get some of the pricing in for the moves,
Yes.
which was significantly less.
Yeah, that's what I was going to lead with. Peter had just recently moved some schools and had some great experience doing that. And we actually have a quote in hand that's much less expensive that helps with those reductions. I mean, I will say there's always more money we could use over at Brown to increase the facilities use and beautification, functionality, things like that. But we've come a long way, and we've got a lot of work done. It was a difficult decision because there was some other things, but some of that is related, like I said, right to the move. And then in terms of the furniture, there's some newer furniture that we purchased for Jeffrey and Ryerson recently. And so the good stuff is coming over, and some of that's only a few years old. So it's definitely got a lot of functionality left, and while it won't be brand new, it's definitely on the newer side. And so I think we made some of those decisions. There will be new furniture throughout. We need new furniture for the cafeteria, for example. We need new furniture for an additional pre-K classroom. So there's definitely some new furniture that's going to be mixed in there, but we're taking the best of the best from 3 facilities that are closing.
Thank you. That's what I was hoping to hear.
Laura?
Hi, I'm just trying to follow along. Stacy or Kristen, you sent the 2-page CIP from 11/26. Is these adjustments, is this new to those pages?
No, what that is, Laura, is we took the 10-year plan that's on page 47 in your book, and it was revised by these projects, the 2.189.
Yep.
The document that you're looking at now. So we sent you a revised from what was in your original book to what was approved by the Board of Ed. And though the difference between the two reports should be this 2.189.
Okay, but like under the FF&E for Brown, it shows 800. So
Hasn't been approved by the board.
that 100,000.
Lauren, can I chime in there, Laura? I can answer. I think I can answer that question. So what you're seeing is the 800,000 that was approved previous. We have given back 100, so that should be 700. But it is in essence, it's kind of like it's two things. One, yes, that's correct, because that was the approved budget prior to this, or the approved SIP prior to that. But it is going to be down to 700, and then up on that second item there you'll see that we have eliminated the Brown FF&E by 200. So there was $1 million planned for the FF&E and the moving, It is now, the total budget is $700,000. Does that clear things up?
Yes, it just doesn't show as 700 and,
Doesn't show as 700, that's correct.
okay.
So the new document, the only change between the book and what you received last week is this 2.189. These projects down here are not reflected in that document yet because it needs to go to all three boards. And so far, the Board of Ed and Board of Selectmen have approved it, and the Board of Finance will be doing that next week.
Okay, so ultimately we'll see that change. Okay,
Yes.
gotcha. Thank you.
I
Okay,
don't see-
so, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I'm just looking to see if there's any other hands raised. Okay, nope, Peter, you're up.
Well, up on the top where it says athletic field inside track planning and locker room 1970s, we have eliminated that project and stuck with the older locker room as a refurb, which you'll see as a note down on the bottom. Kitchen renovation specifically applies to the Brown kitchen. We took $15,000 and brought it down to $350,000 because partially because we're doing some work right there right now with other monies that we've had targeted for such as a new dishwasher. So we were able to pare that project down a little bit. The auditorium for Brown was pushed back to year 6. The window replacement was pushed back to year 6. Polson, the Polson door hardware updates was eliminated because we're going to loop that into a bonded project at Polson. The bathroom ADA Polson as well is going to be addressed as needed, not in part of that project. So we've moved that one out. The Daniel Hand High School paving was a significant amount of money, and honestly, we did a deep dive into the paving, and we can buy extra time and push the paving out to year 6 or 7, I believe it is. And if we just do some crack sealing, which is where you see that we actually took 433,685 out and then added 25 to do some more maintenance type paving to buy us some time on that paving. And that's the same for the Polson as well. The Polson was another large paving project that we've pushed back out a few more years and then added in $25,000 to repair and seal areas of the paving to buy some extra time. And then it comes down to finally that last $200,000, which we did not accept. That was in the SIP. We pulled it out because we know we can get by with the $700,000 in the Brown FF&E move. So if looking down to the note on the bottom, you'll see the Postal locker room renovation project of $926,000, which is in the SIP is going to be offset by grant funding.
That's great.
I do want to say one thing. As light as this CIP appears, it is we have initiated a series of projects which were either already in the queue or kind of like on the back burner, where we have almost 3.5 years worth of work to do to get caught up until we get to the next level of SIP. So it's not like we're not doing any work around the school system. We have millions of dollars of work that's occurring in the school system right now. And I can attest to Ben's work ethic. It is unbelievable what's occurring. There is an awful lot of work going on here. So, I mean, and again, these were already projects that were in the SIP that were approved and funded. So we're working on projects right now that were approved and funded. So to see a SIP this light doesn't really necessarily reflect the amount of work that's occurring right now in the district.
So I don't see any hands raised. Do we have any questions on this worksheet? Oh, Katie, go ahead.
So Stacy, this is the 5-year, correct? What is in year 1? Just the total done.
So I was gonna pull up the
Oh, okay.
10-year plan so you could see
All right.
because I'm not sure No, if you have any other questions, this was just a change from the original document to the way it is now. And then if anybody has any questions on any projects that remain in the 5 years, we can talk about those now.
While Stacy's pulling that up, I just want to thank the Board of Ed and Dr. Cook and Peter. I can only imagine how excruciating that must have been to go through and try and prioritize or reassess. So that's number one. And number two, Peter, you just mentioned it, but all of the schools really have been touched, first of all, over the summer, but the continued work on the buildings that's even happening without programmatic disruption during the school year is really remarkable and something I have not seen before. So hats off to all of you for that.
We got a really good team working forward.
Okay, so this was, this is a new plan that was voted for by the Board of Ed, and this was included in your email last week, I believe. So if you have, we can go through however you want to attack this, but this is what will be in the final document as of right now.
Quick note, beige is year 1.
And it's by school. We have these district-wide projects up there that is not different from other years, and then we go down by school. So this is Daniel Hand and then Polson and so on. So not sure if you want to go through the projects or if you have any questions. The one thing I will highlight is the roof is in here in year 5 net. Yes.
Stacy, can you scroll down? It might be my screen. Thank you.
So that was Hand. This right now I'm showing Polson. This is Brown. Athletics for a total of 7.582 now versus the 9.772 that is in your book. Any questions on any of these projects?
I have a question about the later years. Is now the appropriate time?
Sure.
Well, I guess it's a sort of like whose responsibility is it here? Because under the athletics, and I guess this is year 10, the softball field lighting. You know, we had, when we did Beach and Rec, we had money for redoing the field in there. And now we have under Board of Ed putting the lighting in. And so I don't know why is one in one and one in the other?
You know, I think that we constantly work closely with Austin and the town team. That was determined that if that goes forward, and I think there's a lot of other priorities, especially shifting after these reductions, that that would be a board project at this time. You know, if the town decided to take it over earlier rather than later, that would be fine. But at this point, we just figured that was a school project. It's been on our list for a long time. Several years we've had that on the list. It's just been in the out years.
Who amongst the school teams, I mean, the girls softball team doesn't play it in the evenings. So
we would, because there's no lights now. We don't, but we definitely would. There, when we do the baseball field, there's going to be conduit where we don't have lights in the plan anymore because of reductions. But that would be another, you know, kind of nice to have to be able to play night baseball games as well. Not imminent at this point, though.
Okay, I just don't, yeah, I guess it's one of those things that once it gets in, it's in, or, I mean, I guess we'll look at it again.
As it
Yeah,
comes
we
up.
can renew that conversation with the town as well. You're right. Probably more of the usage would be, town or rec leagues or travel softball, things like that. But
Yeah, and I
it-
see those as, those are private leagues, so I guess I question whether that really is Board of Ed responsibility for that. But, whereas like the Little League lights at the surf club, or the lights on the Little League field, they paid for some of that. So anyway, but
Do you
That's
bus
okay.
out of town for night games now, Dr. Cook?
yeah, we have some teams that play night games. In fact, with the bus driver shortage, it would help us to be able to play night games away and home. For other schools coming to us, it's really been tough. For transportation, but it's also a fun community event. We typically get more families and students there when we were able to do that. But again, other priorities certainly at this point. And we'll have that. We'll renew that conversation with the town as well.
And if I can just add, I mean, this is a 10-year plan. It's a planning document. I mean, even years 2 through 5 are up for discussion after this year. So things can be moved around. It really is for planning purposes at this point.
And as we saw with the earlier things that we took out, just because it's in there doesn't necessarily mean it will get done. It's something on the radar, but there are things taken out all the time.
I have my hand raised. I'd like to jump in on here. As having gone through the school system in Madison and friends, I think we covered all the Ivy League schools, all the top schools. We didn't have these amenities. I guess I'm dating myself, but with a town that's sort of struggling to pay its bills, some of this stuff seems pretty luxurious. Like, well, why are we getting in the illuminating field in the evening? I mean, the priority is to educate kids so they go to college and then they move on. I mean, it seems a little extravagant. Are we keeping up with the Joneses, other towns? It just seems more than what, we're already burdening Madison taxpayers. It seems, what's your thoughts on that?
I would say that's why it's in year 10, and that's why it's still a conversation to be had. I mean, we have locker rooms that basically are 1960, 1970. So I think we're far from, with the Joneses. It's we're far from that area and things that haven't been addressed for a long time. So those are prioritized still. We have windows to be replaced. We have roofs that we're putting money into each year to keep them from leaking and have concerns. And that's really why you see the reductions come forward, that we need to make sure that roof is in that 5-year plan and moving forward. And we're going to, hope that we can get to that point. So yeah, I would say we're far from there, but I think that we also get criticized if we ever discuss things that aren't in the plan. And so I think it's important that we have that 10-year look. But that we don't lose things off the list that might be discussed in the future.
Maybe the optics are bad. I mean, I was surprised. Polson was to Katie. I can see you're smiling. Was pretty awful looking. I mean, I get people in town feeling that our schools are extravagantly funded, and over the summer when we were there, they look pretty terrible. I mean, the Polson, the facade. When I go inside the doors, the quality of the carpets. I mean, it's not luxurious at all. But optically, putting in stuff like certain things, I think shouldn't even be on here. We should be focusing on priority items. I mean, it's just bad optics to even discussing lighting to have evening games for softballs. Sorry, I mean, there's so much low hanging fruit. Bad optics.
Well, again, it's not a priority item. It's in year 10. The town doesn't even put out the year 6 through 10. I don't believe. we're a little bit different, that we share those out years. And you know, the whole all the Polson projects became the reason why we're able to ask for a you know, $7.5 million CIP is because the Polson project that was approved was shifted to include other updates for that, and it will get us eventually air conditioning, which is really a must-have now. All new carpeting and painting and other flooring and things like that. So a lot of work that has to occur at Polson. Doors that are the original doors to the facility, bathroom units that you know, that are nowhere near ADA compliant. I mean, there is a lot of work, like you said, but obviously that is prioritized before lights on a softball field that's in year 10 that's stayed there for a long time.
And
Thank you.
if I may jump in, and this is why I raised my hand, I was on low cap and has been on CIP since it started. And the reason that these projects are so large and so impactful is because there was 40 plus years where basic maintenance was done to the schools, and that was it. So you literally have a boiler at Jeffrey that's 60 something years old. You have you know, the Polson gym, which you can't pull the bleachers out. And the same thing happened when they built the high school gym. So there's a thought of we've been penny wise for so long. It's coming up to the pound foolish now. And there's been significant, not to say that the facilities folks didn't do absolutely amazing jobs with what they had for the budget. They did. But there was no capital improvements to these schools for decades, probably since you went there. So that was one of the issues that brought about the referendum of the whole, you know, combination of schools. It was going to cost more money to update all of our schools than it was to build new. So I think that, you know, putting this out in a 10-year plan and stretching this out and focusing obviously on year 1 through 5 for this committee, but it's something that is being, you know, I consider very proactive, and people can have discussions. And, you know, we've got a significant, you know, football fields under the lights. We're the first one in New England to do it. And that was back in your day, I'm sure, Alex. And, you know, and we play football next to the ocean. Yet during the original school plan, that was supposed to be moved to next to the high school, and that didn't go through. So, you know, it's a matter of priorities and what the town feels they want to move for. But we've got 5 schools of distinction in this town, and you know, and they still do it in the conditions that, as you said, you go into Polson and it's like, oh my gosh, it probably hasn't changed since you graduated from there in parts in certain areas, but they still, you know, I'm really proud of what the Board of Ed does with the money that it has. So
Congratulations. I agree. So
Oh, Laura.
Yeah, I just wanted to ask about some of the efficiency items, because it looks like there are 2 lines. They go, I guess they're both at the high school. One is for the lighting, which is, you know, again, in year 10. But the other one is for energy efficiencies. Are those things, could you describe what those are, and should we be looking at those to come forward? Because they would save money in more current years.
I'm sorry, Dr. Cook, go ahead.
Oh, I'll just start us off because I think you can speak more thoroughly to what the actual projects were. But I know when the high school was finished, they put in the plan in out years again, and I think it hasn't ever moved forward. Was just kind of energy efficiencies, looking at that, whether it's you know, new lighting, you know, updated lighting and things like that throughout the building. That would also, 1, beautification, but 2, provide new energy, whether it's you know, additional solar panels once the roof is finished, things like that. So Peter, I don't know if there's some other things more specific that you have on that list of that.
So I'll address the high efficiency lighting system. At this point, right now, we've, transferred every possible light that we can over to LED, but that doesn't mean that all of them are over to LEDs. We still have some fluorescent lights in some of the buildings just for cost efficiencies. To go to a high efficiency lighting system is to transfer every single fixture out. So that's going to be all fixtures would be get transferred out, and then also including them onto a would be kind of like a smart home system, or the lights would go on when there's people in the room. The lights would go off if there's no activity in the room, so that you're going to be only operating those lights when they need to go on and off. And that is a huge savings, but it's also a huge infrastructure cost. Addressing the energy efficiencies, that would be upgrades to our current system, whether it be to the building management system for the boilers, and also for any of the outside controls. So that would be that would be a rewiring. So there's an awful lot of infrastructure that these are things that we haven't really designed and set into stone, but it would be a nice way to save some money and upgrade the school system at the same time.
Question, is there any funding from Eversource or any of the programs?
We don't know how much funding there is that far out, but yes, if we were to do this now, there is some funding for it. They tend to not guarantee that kind of funding for those LED lights, and it also depends on how many grants have you already taken to the school district. So you can only have a certain amount of grants that you can give out at the same time.
Does anyone else have any questions on the 5-year, the projects that are in the 5 years? Okay. Think we're good? Thank you. We can move back on. So the next item on the agenda is any committee comments? Katie?
Hi, last time I recognized Jean Fitzgerald and her impeccable, remarkable service to our town and to CIP over the years. So I will reiterate that now, but sadly, because we don't have her anymore, we are also without a chair, and have been for quite some time. And so I'm hoping that I can nominate a chair this evening that can fulfill that duty, if that is okay with the committee. I would like to nominate Galen Colley. Galen served as vice chair on the CIP for several years, and I think he would do a remarkable job.
I'll second that nomination.
Yes, enthusiastically second that. That's a great nomination, Katie. Thank you for that.
Of course, of course. All right, so motion and a second. So then,
All in favor?
Galen, you have to vote for yourself too.
I was waiting.
Opposed? Okay, motion passes.
Each.
So Galen, you're up. Item number 4.
Right. Thank you very much. It's Katie and Jean both set great examples, and I'll do my best. So thank you very much. Although we all know that Kristen and Stacy do all the work, so I'll be a mere figurehead.
You're very on Wizards of Oz.
Yeah, but it's a great committee because everybody brings a really good, informed perspective, and the conversations illuminate a lot. So thank you. I'll do my best.
The agenda is all yours.
Oh, geez. Well, I think we're just about ready to adjourn.
Nope. Citizen
Nope.
comments.
Oh, citizen comments. Thank you.
Are there any
Are
members?
no citizens on,
Oh, we got one
no
person.
public members on here.
We got one citizen. I don't see him raising his hand though.
I think he's outside with the dog.
All right.
Multitasking. I like it.
That's great. All right.
Okay.
Well, if there are no
Oh,
other,
we do have a raised hand. He is
Okay.
raising his hand.
We want a dog update, please.
There you go.
No, I just need to defend my honor. I'm still here. I'm listening.
the chair
All
does not
outside.
recognize the chair does not recognize the citizen comment. Thank you. Very much.
Matt Gordon, 34 Lenore Drive. Sorry.
All right.
Oh,
I was wondering how you knew he was out walking the dog.
I heard noise out the window behind me.
Wait, Alex, you didn't know that all elected officials know where the whole citizenry is at all times?
That's right.
That's what the drones were for.
Well done.
If you join us, Alex, we'll get you an air tag and you can join our little cult.
There you go.
yeah.
It's
Lions
already-
climbing on my lap now, asking me to feed her.
Oh,
2 minutes in and it's already spun out of control. My God, what have I done?
so fun, Dan.
All right. Well, are there any other comments? All right. Seeing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you,
Second.
Katie. Thank you. Thank you, Jen.
Happy New
And-
Year, everyone.
Happy New Year. It is
Happy New
fine.
Yeah,
Year.
Happy New Year.
Thank
See you
you.
Wednesday.
Good evening, everyone. Safe